I know that a number of students struggle with the sign conventions that we use for stresses and strains and so on in mechanics in geotechnical engineering, especially because students have taken typically 2 or 3 or more courses where they've dealt with more circles and stress elements and stress blocks and so on. And generally there's a slightly different sign convention in each. So I just wanted to put together a couple of quick notes for you to help you with my courses, and maybe you'll find it helpful for others as well. So, okay, so geotechnical sign conventions. So we'll start off with a simple stress block here. Okay, this is just two-dimensional. And define a few axes here. All right. Now, in this case, we'll use X and Z, but you can also use X and Y. All right. So now we want to deal with the shear and normal stresses. Well, the simplest one is the normal stresses, and essentially in geotechnical engineering, which is different from structural engineering, compression is positive. Okay. So your compressive stresses are positive, and we represent these normal stresses on each plane with sigma. So we got sigma x and sigma z. Okay, so normal stress, positive in compression. All right, that's super straightforward for everybody. It's the shear stresses where the challenges come. There's a couple of different ways of looking at it. Simply put, first let's talk about the nomenclature and the subscripts. Okay, I like to use tau, but you can equally use sigma to represent the shear stresses. And the subscripts are usually ordered in terms of what face the stress is acting on, followed by the direction that it's acting. Okay, so for instance here, we have tau, and it's on the x face in the z direction. So that's tau x z. Okay. And on the opposite face, it's going in the same sense of direction. And on the orthogonal faces, they're going in the opposite direction because, you know, the element is in equilibrium. It's not going to spin freely, so they have to have opposing shear stresses. All right. And this, the one on the top face is tau x acting on the z face, acting in the x direction. All right. So now the sign convention. All right, so basically the way I look at it is that a positive shear stress acts on a positive face in the positive direction. Okay, so positive if on positive face in positive direction. Okay. So, for instance, tau xz is in positive x face in the positive z direction. And on the opposite side, these two are a couple and have the same positive sense. It's on the negative face in the negative direction. Or on the negative face in negative direction. Okay. So basically you can see in this element that all the shear stresses essentially have a positive sense. Okay, so which is reasonable. They're all basically inducing the same sort of sense of shearing, which is to make the element want to go like this. Okay, it's an overall positive sense of shear. But for more circle and things like that, we need to have something defined as positive and negative, okay? Because in your more circle, right, you have to have some kind of positive and negative shear to execute properly, okay? So right now we have overall positive shear stresses. Or more circle, need to define a positive and negative sense. Okay, so the convention that I use is quite simple. I simply, the shear stress that tends to induce a counterclockwise sense of motion, I define as positive. Okay, so positive shear is a counterclockwise sense of direction. Okay. So in that case, you can see that tau xz is tending to move the block in a counterclockwise direction, so that's positive. Okay, so positive tau xz, and tau zx tends to oppose that, so we can define that as negative. And they have the same magnitude because the block is in equilibrium. It's tau negative zx. So that's the sign convention that that I like to use in my courses. But you know, again, I am sympathetic to the fact that you get used to lots of different conventions from different professors and so on. And so long as you make it clear, and of course the answer is right. Then I certainly in my tests will accept whatever suitable and correctly used convention that you decide to use. However, you must make it clear. And so what I always do is basically you can draw this stress block and just state your sign convention if you like, right on the test. There's nothing wrong with that. So just make it clear. Make your convention clear. I hope you found this helpful. Good luck on your test.